Hello everybody, and welcome to this quick wonderful video about how to take a model like this and then make it look like this, and then we will make it look like this. So we will talk about and learn about how can we give certain geometry elements various materials, a basic flat color, stone color, how to change actually not only the texture, but for example, the reflectivity value of it. We will also go a little bit to the outside, add a grass and stone material to it. So we will touch upon UV unwrapping and projection. We will go to, or we will learn about where can we find images? How do I search for them? What cool websites are there? For example, the texture SketchUp texture is pretty cool, and this one here, Architectures, I love this service. This is really fantastic. And then this is actually how we will start. Now we also need to add our windows and colorize them. I will talk about this too, so we can turn this into this. That's pretty fantastic. Now we can all agree on it. Now we just want to live there. Okay, perfect. Then let's do this. Will be cool, I promise. So let's create the geometry for all these window openings. I have the 3D cursor positioned. Point snapping, move command is on. Add new mesh plane. Then I can move, hold control and snap. Hold, snap. Going to edit mode, edge select, bring this over, hold control. You see I'm just moving and dragging E and Z. So extrude and Z constraint, hold control, click, there we are. And then in object mode, I simply Shift D and X, position them. Then Shift D and X, go to here, go into edit mode, select these two edges, hold control, snap, tab, leave edit mode, go into object mode, and then Shift D and X and bring this over to there, make a copy. Okay, we made copies on purpose because all these pieces will have individual materials. And it's a little bit different than here, for example. So I will do this, Shift D, hold control, okay, to this bottom part, go into edit mode, move this down, hold control, snap, bring this over, hold control, snap, okay, good. And then I will say right click, set origin geometry, because window cut there. So this is the value I use for the array modifier. So I can copy this, Control C, H, hide this one, select this, array modifier, Control V, simply paste this in, 4 pieces. Zuck, there, works. And I think these all have the same pieces. They do, so I can simply hide those. And then this one, Alt D, because this is the same. Hold Control, or move it to here and hold Control. Sometimes the snapping works good, sometimes it does not. There. It's based on what it wants to snap. Alt D, G, hold Control, G, hold Control. They have to go down a little bit. So this cannot be just an Alt D copy. This needs to be an individual copy. So here, click. Okay, not a big problem. Select this edge and move it down. Tab so we can get out of the edit mode. So now Alt D, hold control. Let's see where it snaps. G, hold control. Okay, it snaps to there. You see now the array modifier is not correct. What's this one here? It has this value. So Control C to copy. Select this one. Control V, paste it in. One more. So 3. There we are. And Yeah, this was a little bit different. So I copied this one, and window cuts I can hide. Alt D, G and Z, G and Control, and then Control V, we paste this in, 2 more there. Okay, now, very good. And then to do these is exactly the same way how we did those here. So Shift D, then with G and holding Control, I can snap these pieces into position, move this down, move this over, there we are. Right click geometry. By the way, I can select multiple objects, right click, and then say reset the center point. No, Shift D and hold Control. Shift D, hold Control, Shift D. You see how I'm very quickly rebuilding that environment. It's quite easy and fast. Shift D, Control, zack. Okay, one more. Shift D, Control there. Edit mode, bring this one up. Right click there, Shift D, Shift D, Shift D. And now, hold on, I'll show you something. Shift D there. So you see they're not at the right height. What's really nice in Blender is you can select multiple objects, and then when you go into edit mode, you can select multiple geometries at the same time. So you don't have to go into edit mode, leave edit mode. Would be great in case actually SketchUp could do this more. Shift D, go to there, Shift D, go to there, edit mode for both, zack, and there I'm with Control Snap, finish this. Yeah, now there we have this super easy. We are ignoring building the what's going on here? This is it was embarrassing. It's always good to rotate your view a little bit. So something like this does actually not happen. As I noticed, the snapping here happened. Why did this happen? Oh, because I assumed this edge here is the same as there, but it was not. But you see how fast we can readjust this, and I think here this is too far in, and then click, 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 Shift B, middle mouse button, right click, reset. So we ignored building the window frame. Now we could do this. We learned how to do this here with there, but we will skip this step. So here, how do we do this? The 3D cursor, we can drag onto here, Shift A, plane. Then we will go into edit mode, R, Y, and 90. G, and you see how I'm snapping this down. There we are. Tab. In object mode, right click, and then Shift D, and then, whoop, wrong tool, Shift D there, tab, zack, Shift D, hold Control, tab, zack, Shift D, and then you Shift D, and then click, 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 right click, origin. Okay, now there's our geometry. And then, yeah, how do we do the glass? Okay, let's do the simple glass first. So this one here. Here we go new, and then we type in, we could say window glass, clear. Okay. That has it not. So here we go to there, type in window, and we apply this. And because these are clones, you can see they all have the same color. So the material, let's go to here, Z and render. There we see, well, there's something, but it's solid. We want this to be transparent. The easiest way to turn this material into glass is we click here, and instead of being this principled BSDF, which is called kind of like an Uber material, it can be changed into metal, stone, whatever. We would like this just to be glass. There we are. Then color transparency. White is clear. This is actually rough. So you see this is kind of blurry. Let's change this to 0 and then it's clear. Now, one note about glass material. Glass can be very render intensive. We can also, for example, say this should just be transparent. But you see now, yeah, this is transparent, but it has no reflection on it too. If you Google how to make architecture glass, there's a lot one can find. Since we will render also online, we will simply go this way with the glass material. We have this index of reflection that's going to bend the light. Maybe Google, when you take a stick and put it underwater, under the water, the submerged part of the stick will look at a different angle. Now, this is kind of like this index of refraction. Okay, so this is actually good. How can we do this now? So maybe here, new, and we call this window, and I will copy this. I mean, copy the name, glass, maybe red. Same thing, glass, red, there, select this one, new. You see how this is really, again, mass production. Very repetitive tasks. And glass there, what do we say? Blue, maybe a nice yellow. Yellow, there we are. And glass, yellow, suck. Or what do we do this? Maybe this one we make magenta or violet. We didn't have yet either. There we are. There's this, there's that. Z and render. Yeah, look at that. Huh? So if we now go into the space and look up, there you see this. It's pretty cool, no? Yeah. You might notice actually at this point the rendering engine can actually also get slower because of there's not much light really coming in. That is why the rendering then with the online render farm will be really very beneficial. So how do we finish the rest? First, I will here, these are all the glass elements. Yep. Very good. And I press M, new collection, and I will call this window glass. Very nice. So I can turn this on and off. I go now into the space and do a rendering. You see, ooh, this is really fast. And with all the other stuff on, it's not as fast as you can see. Okay, good. Then to adjust all the colors, we can take a look at the architectural reference image. We have here this elevation view. And then based on this, what we see there, we could colorize the individual pieces as they should be. And as you can see here now, I have the building turned off. I see my other window elements, Z and material preview. I have this background image here. So there now I can figure out, okay, where's the the correct window. So this one here should be green, and then actually this one should be blue. Very nice. Okay, and now I can go ahead and say, so you should be magenta. That's this one. Control L. And you, oh, this is a new one. That's a nice deep blue. So actually, let's make this one not blue. This is cyan. And then this one here we make blue. Maybe, yeah, like a deep one. There we are. Very good. And then you shift click this one, Control L. You, Control L, that's the green one. This one is the yellow one. Oh, here we have an orange. Zack and zack. Orange for me the most hardest color really to work with, in my opinion. Oh, what happened? Glass. There we are. Oh, yeah. It's there. Yep. That's changed now. And then here we can also type in red. Look, you see how quickly that's following magenta. It sorts everything out. Blue and cyan there. So I just typed in Y, green, and yeah, yellow, orange, and red. There. See it now? Not too long. Pretty cool. Okay. So if we then do rendering, okay, there we are. I also have all these other windows here that have the transparency added to it. Building, let's go into rendering, Z and render. Yeah, look at that. Now it's gets a complete different look already. So we take this out and we have all this coming in. We take this, it gets nice and colored, for example. So Z and solid. Okay, very good. Cool. And then I can show you how we can do these pieces here. And we also have these very big openings here in the back, the glass window, the glass door, and pretty much here we can do the same. I will select all these elements here I have, and maybe it's easier to just turn the building off. Okay, so AA, so nothing is selected, and I just redo the step just to make sure that I have everything selected that I want. There. Okay, very nice. And then I recall here, this is the material that's just clear glass. Control L. Now this is for making a link for the material. Z and render. Okay, pretty good. Very nice. So now these are colorized too. I am inside the space, turned on the rendering preview, and you might notice that this is actually taking a little bit longer now. That is quite normal. That's also the downside of glass. The light is not necessarily passing through or bouncing off. The glass material enables the software to calculate how the glass should bend. It's more time consuming. Also, the color saturation is actually really intense. So there are a few tricks we have at our disposal we could do. First, when I select a color or a window here, click on the color, I have the ability to play with the saturation slider. So make this, for example, less intense. When I select all those pieces here and lower the saturation, let's go back, Z and render. And there you see, it is coloring this a little bit, but not as intense. So it is a matter of preference, what type of color you would like to do. Is it too much? Do we have to lower it? Yeah. So the other option is I will actually, for example, switch these saturations back. I go on purpose with the full RGB value. The other option we have now is, do we keep this a glass material or do we turn this into a fake transparent material? So where's the big difference? Let me go to this angle, Z, and then I do a render. And now we can see here on the glass surface, well, we can see through, but you also can see that, hey, there's this reflection of the architecture on the glass. And that is basically what the glass material does. It simulates actual glass. And if you grab a transparent glass or take a look at a window perpendicular and really nearly from the side, you will see that when we are perpendicular, we can see through. And if we are really at a grazing angle like this, we see a reflection. So that needs to be calculated. That needs time to do. This is also the more realistic way how to do the glass. As a shortcut, we could, instead of glass, say, well, this is just a transparent material. So I do the same here now. Transparent, not translucent. Translucent would turn this into something like silicone. Fortunately, because we are reusing the materials for various objects, only have to do this one time to one material, and then all the other materials are updated too. There. No, so all these are done. So then we now go into the space. It will render a little bit faster, but it won't necessarily bend the light as, for example, the glass material would do. Plus, we're not really going to see this this reflection on it. Now here we might not really care much. We don't really see much of the window, but so let's say we go maybe to maybe here. Let's see. So how would this look? So there's actually now the glass window, and if we render this, we don't really see any reflection on it. If I set this back to just glass, there you can see the environment right on the glass window. So that's a nice realism. Obviously, without the reflection, it looks like there's nothing there. So the reason why I show you this is simply so you have two options. One is kind of fake, that can colorize and give the idea of that there's a window, and one is more realistic, but takes a tick longer also to calculate. Very good. Yeah, I mean this actually looks pretty nice now when we are inside the space. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we can create and add more materials to the individual walls. I will isolate these three walls here. Let's use this one too. Shift H. There we are. Okay, cool. Okay, let's start with this one. We go to here, new material. Let's call this building white. Okay, all good. This should be not a glossy material, let's say a nice and matte. So we set specular to 0. If this actually should be a really matte, permanently matte, by the way, we can also then simply say, where is it? D like diffuse. There, diffuse. That's pure flat, no reflection. Okay. Then let's go into edit mode. My unit system is currently set to imperial. So let's say 3 feet off the ground, I would like to have a loop cut. So Control R, click. So what are 3 feet? 12, 24, 36. So you see how I'm sliding this up and down till it tells me here that this is roughly 36. Little other trick, Alt click on this edge, GG, move this down, GZ, and then 36 inches. There. By the way, while I'm in Imperial, I can also type in 1 meter. Adjust it as I want. Very good. Switch to here. So this is the material preview. Then I can select, whoa, careful, these materials. Let's go view frame selected, so the rotation is better. And now this I would like to give maybe an orange material. There, plus, new, we call this building orange. This is also then when it's really useful to go to your local paint store, take a look at their paint swatches, the offerings, maybe take a look at how does a eggshell, how does a high gloss, how does a matte, how does a semi-gloss look, how reflective are they, how blurry they are, because these illusions we then can recreate. So here we will make this a little bit orange, specular is good, little bit of roughness, so it's not so super glossy. 0.3, yeah, nothing happened because we have to hit assign first. There we are. Cool. So let's go to here. Let's do the same. Let's assume the Control R for loop cut doesn't work. In edit mode, I can press K for knife. Then this is the x-axis, and then cut through, C, click enter. There's my loop cut. Also here, Alt click on this edge, GG, GZ, what was it? 1 meter, not 1 inch, 1 meter. There. Click, 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 click. Oh, this whole thing first needs the material, so building white, good. Now plus the orange, and now assign. The first material you add to geometry makes the material be applied to the whole geometry. There, cool. Go to here, edit mode, Control R, down, move this up, 1 meter, building, Alt click on this edge, makes the loop. Suck. They're not the same. Well, that could easily be the same, to be honest. Alt D and X, snap, H, click this one, X and delete, Alt H, and a 0 there. Cool, now. So now if we do a rendering, there you can see now how we have this material nicely always at this 1 inch line. So how do we do the same maybe with the wall? So here we make this white. And this is actually now the moment where we might have to also apply the cut for all these windows openings. This is more like a demo. You don't have to necessarily do it. If you want to, you can. This can also be quite interesting. Then how can you paint the color go around corners? So why do we have to apply the Boolean cut? Because as you know, this is still our basic geometry, just this empty shell, which we give a thickness, and then we do these cuts. So here's my collection, and I call this maybe building raw, Shift D and escape. This building raw now a height, and here I will apply the solidify, this. Ooh, not the cut sections. Yeah, this I will show later. This is then how we use the Boolean commands to do cut sections. Okay, so now because I applied all the other or all the modifiers you had in your list, minus these two, if I go into edit mode, look at that. Now I have actual geometry I can touch, no? So I think this makes it very, very clear. So I would like from here to have one line go through. So how do we do this? Ideally, this is with the Control R, and that's not going to really work. That's the reason why we, at this point, then will use the knife tool. So I will press K, click. This is X, yep, and C to cut through. Click and press Enter. So now you can see how we slice through the whole space. Kind of like this line, no? Okay. So I could then in this mode, so wireframe, AA, B, select all the faces at the bottom. And for example, I give those now this orange material. There we are. So how can we now make the material go through the inside here and maybe stop at this wall? And then we have a little bit also in here. So there is my piece now. So I have this face selected. I can press K, click here, and then X till there, click Enter, and that's it. So you see this face I sliced. But as we can see also here, these cuts went through there too. Let's see. Yeah, it did it. Now, and then you see how they're coming up there. So how can we maybe prevent this? I simply press Shift H. I hide everything else. Go to this view, press K, click X, click and Enter. Alt H. So you saw by hiding the other geometry, it didn't really cut it. I find this to be honestly the fastest and easiest way to do this. There, I apply this material. Yeah, there we are. I'll go to 0. Show the floor. Now there you can see this. Okay. So what's maybe here the distance? We can select this, hold, drag this, maybe this, hold Control, snap on this line, hold Control. There actually it finds the vertical distance, so it's 48. If we want this to be at 48, so 28.7 thousandths have to go down. So what I will do now is the following. See how I select all these lines. So careful now. So GZ, I will bring this one down till there. Okay. And now this should go up 1 meter too. GZ and then 1 meter. Or whatever inches you will select. Okay, so, but how do we do this now here on this wall? And then there. So again, I hide everything else, select this face, Shift H, hide the floor, go to this view, K. I simply slice really high on top. There we are. And Enter. Thank you. Then I can show the floor, select all those, not you and not you. Not you. G and Z down, G and Z up, and 1 meter. Very good. Here now GZ and I hold Control and snap to this height. Okay, and then actually I will do this. GZ, bring this down, GZ a little bit up, and 1 meter. Yeah, so how do we do this now from kind of like from here to there. So this I will bring down, hold snap, and let's say this is kind of like where it should stop. So let me show you a little trick how we will do this. Basic geometry. I just draw a line. This is like a guideline. Bring this one up, bring this one down, X and delete that edge. There we are. See? So Alt H, show me everything else. So, oh, interesting. So yeah, so you go down, hold. Oh, this is interesting. Let's see how, okay, GZ. I will, you see it goes to this point. B in wireframe, select these 2 points, and then we will merge them to 1 point. So then you go down, snap. So here, E and X, I draw a line over. So right where actually this step would be. From here, E and X there. And then here I draw another line. You see, it's kind of like like a guideline. And then I simply bring the stuff down. And as long as this is not too crazy, the result will be pretty good. Yeah, there, assign. There we are. Look at that. Now we have that material going down. Obviously, adding material just on solid faces is pretty easy. So let's say these faces here, we would like to have the material added to it. This face and this face here. There. Here, maybe you get this color, but then I don't want this to go up. I would like this rather to go be horizontal. So this has to snap to this point. And then maybe here, this is orange. 0, take a look. Yeah. Okay. The interesting element of this architecture is just how many interesting edges and walls we have. So the last thing maybe to demo is, so how do we make the material go along the window here now? So that's easy. So let's say here with the knife tool there, I select, then Y, this is the Y direction, click OK. Let's frame this and rotate the view. Okay, I did not slice anything else. So I select this face, K, Y, click and enter. And maybe here we do 1, 2, click Y and enter. And then I select kind of like these individual faces I can select, give this a material. There we are. Yeah. And if I do not want these things, I select everything and overwrite, kind of like new paint. And then I have the old geometry left. So for example, if this might be too much, then we can go back and simply say, so U2 is just the normal white material again. Very good. Okay, so that's kind of like everything that's interesting to know about how then to add different materials to a window. Not a window, different parts of the architecture, even when they go along a line. And just again, just to reiterate, you have matte material, you also have glossy material or semi-glossy. So if this should be high glossy, then this is a normal BSDF, and we go specular, and the roughness makes sure if this is now really like plastic glossy, there you can see the reflections on it. or if we set specular to 0 if it's matte. If it's really reflective, okay, but if we then increase the roughness, the reflectivity is there, but the image is more diffused. Or if it just always should be a pretty flat material, we can turn this into just this diffuse material, or go to the glossy and then say, hey, I really not glossy is actually, yeah, glossy is only like a plastic material. I meant the principled BSDF. There we are. Let's make all this super glossy to like a plastic building. There we are. Looks kind of crazy. 0.1, maybe a little bit. 0, let's see. Yeah, 0.01. Maybe a little bit of reflection and then some diffuse to it. 0.001. You see, it's still pretty strong actually. 0.001. Oh, even one more. There, it's getting really weak now. It's really interesting as a study. Move around in a house, look onto walls, look along walls, and pay attention to how much you start seeing highlights and how clean, how non-blurry or how blurry are the highlights. Okay, cool. There we are. The last piece that's maybe good to know about the knife is, so if I would like to add more to it, let's say instead of being this at an angle, I would like this to be horizontal. In edit mode, I can press K, snap to this point, press X for the x-axis, click and enter, and then I can select this face and give this that material. If now we would like to remove edges, or everything what we cut, then we can click an edge, X, and then say dissolve. Now we do not want to delete because then it cuts the space open. So with the dissolve command, pretty much everything that we added, we can then remove. Okay, that's it. Let me give you now a crash course or a really brief introduction into UV texturing, UV mapping. And that is a technique we can use, which is common in computer graphics, to map or project textures over geometry. With that, then we can, for example, show here and there a little bit of grass. And instead of everything being so nice, boringly white, maybe we can make this look like concrete. Okay, so let's go to a browser. And in any image search, you can type in seamless, the type of material you would like to look for, and texture. And for example, there we have a seamless concrete texture. Here, for example, for grass. So what does actually seamless mean? Seamless means the left and the right side match, the top and the bottom side match. So when we tile it, instead of one image, we will have like 100, 200. You will not see sharp edges, transitions between the individual tiles. You will, as one warning ahead, based on what type of texture you use, see the problem of still the pattern that they're repeating each other. Another really cool website is also Architectures, where we will create some materials too. Okay, so let's go to the Finder first. Here's the project folder. Huge tip: create inside the project a folder textures. There I put all the textures into it. So my grass, this one, concrete. This is actually from sketchuptextures.com. It's also a great website. Stones, another concrete image, and so forth. The advantage of this is I have everything inside this project folder. So when I move this, all the materials follow with it. Okay, very good. So Let's go to here one more time. When you look for textures, you see this says 2000 by 2000. That's not too bad. 1000 by 1000 is also good. 1000, yeah. You want to prevent, or 600, that's already getting a little bit complicated. Yeah, 1000. So everything about like 500, 600 pixels is good based on how big we will use it. If you find something that's 200 pixels, then it's not really good. When they are like 1000 or so, then that's actually pretty good. Okay. So to Blender, we will select the floor, Shift H, hide everything else, and then we will give this here a nice green material. So to materials, I already have a ground material. I will go into edit mode. I will select this and this face, turn on the material preview. There we are. Plus new grass, a nice grassy color, and then click assign. There we are. Okay. Yeah. So on this now, I would like to see my grass texture. So instead of using the color for base color, click on this dot, we will add an image texture. Open, and there we are. So we don't really see anything. That's okay. In your case, you probably will see something because I removed the UV coordinate system on purpose. Or maybe you see something and it's distorted. That was the case at the beginning in my version. So what we have to do now is called UV unwrap. Before we continue, let me very quickly show you something. So here's a cube. So now on this cube, I would like to project a material, and it should start on this face and go to here and then go to there. So essentially what I will have to do is just don't do kind of like what I'm doing here right now. Just follow the idea. So while this is, for example, the actual geometry, I need to turn this box into something that is kind of flat. So maybe another good idea to think about is a cardboard box. So see this? Because if we do this actually with everything, so all edges, then we will end up with a nice two-dimensional pattern. And onto this pattern now I can project my two-dimensional image, and then the software can take that two-dimensional image and project it onto our three-dimensional geometry. So UV unwrapping. Think about UV like X and Y. So how does this work? It's very easy. In edit mode, select the two faces, and then we go to UV and say unwrap. And that's it. So unwrap, what magically happened? Let me go to UV editor, and there you see these two faces. It created an unwrapped version for it. We will go to this in a moment one more time. Okay, very good. So that wasn't too complicated. How can we scale this? So there are two ways how to do this. So here's my material. Then here we have vector. Vector, then that's the term for direction. Also rotation and scale and move is a vector. We click on the blue dot. And then we give this a mapping command. A mapping command here in scale, I can type in click and drag and put 4 in, but then we don't really see anything happening right now because we need to tell the move command what coordinate system it should use. For example, please use under vector UV because we UV unwrapped it. And there we are. So you see now here when we type in for example, 8, it gets smaller and smaller. Go to a top view. Maybe I go type in 20. Nah, there you can see actually the tiling. Again, it's not necessarily really a tiling. It's just repeating, and there's a pattern in it that makes it, yeah, how could I say that, noticeable. By the way, I'm click, drag down, and then I go left and right. It's pretty cool how intuitive this works. Or click, drag down, release the mouse button, type in the number. Very good. Okay, so when you search for your own materials, you also want to find materials then that now, as you can understand, they're not too detailed with repetitive elements. You want rather to look for textures which are kind of, yeah, nicely tileable. So this here will not be very good. These are okay if we map them as a single image over a complete wall, but we do not tile them. Something like this, this can rather be tiled. Here, that's pretty even. Okay, you also do not want to have images with shadows or highlights or uneven illumination, because that will show up too. For example, down here you can see this is actually a little bit darker. Okay, cool. So how can we now get the texture, let's say, over the ground, maybe for the concrete? So we go back to edit mode. So I had this one turned off. There we are. Click, click. And now I say Control I, select the opposite. There we are. Very nice. So here I will say UV unwrap. Before I do this, right click. Here, split horizontal down, UV editor, don't freak out. I'm just only showing you what's going to happen. You see how this here also goes down. So UV unwrap. There, you see now, there's the piece unwrapped. Looks kind of twisted, but yeah, that's cool. Okay. And now for the ground, we would like to add maybe this other material I have there. So image, open, textures, and for example, let's say here, this concrete. How is that going to work? There we are. Cool. Let me show you one other way how we can recreate this not network. Well, we're building a network, but the function to scale this. So you see here, this is pretty much the same. This is now the node editor. Very nodes, think about it as a flowchart, how something is being processed. The material output, the material, the image. Now this image we would like to map. So we go to add mapping. There we are. Connect vector to vector. And then for the vector, as we said, we need to add also the UV direction. And that's under texture coordinates, UV there. Cool. Yeah. And then now here we can go in and say form. Then tiles it. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Very nice. So in Photoshop, we could adjust the textures and everything. Let me show you what these nodes actually can be really quite useful for. That's kind of like a little bit more advanced, what you all could do with it, but I will just give you just a small little interesting blip. So you understand why computer artists work with this instead of going to Photoshop to adjust the image and then go back. This image I would like to colorize, so maybe this is a different color. Okay, so I need a color command. I have here a mix RGB. So one color, let's say make it red, white, and then here I have a factor. Factor means, think about it like a stencil map. Look at that. Now I can adjust this, and what is black is blue and what is white is the other color. I can also flip this way or make this actually more white. This maybe more grayish there. Maybe it's a really dark material. There you can see that. No? However you would like to adjust this. Very good. So the grass we would like not to look like vinyl because it's very reflective. So I can click the grass. Then I will collapse here the image material. Note specularity we can set to 0, and you see that for here or there, this is pretty much really the same. For the stone, we can select then the ground material and do the same. Make this roughness down to 0. Very nice. Cool. Okay. So I hope that this gave a little bit of an understanding how easy this actually could work to take geometry and then we add more, how could I say that, materials to it. Let's make this one tick nicer. I would like to have a small stone detail running across here. So I will AA, there we are, K, click, and click and enter. So then these lines, I will select S, Y, and 0 and scale them so they're nice and tight. There we are. And then here, K, Y, click and enter. And then this line I will drag down. So there might few things that have maybe changed. So Z and material preview, yeah, you can see how this got distorted a little bit. So we will have to select now these faces there. And then I say U and unwrap. Okay, that straightened that out. Same here, very good. So now here we would like to give this a different material. Okay, there we are. And then you can see here, this really runs in sync. Some people like the overview, some people like the notes. Just simply select what you're more comfortable. Here's my repetitive stone material, very nice. And then very quickly, texture coordinates, Shift A, mapping there. Students who are new to this are always a little bit afraid when they see this for the first time. But once you realize it's always the same steps in combinations, it's pretty easy. Now we click the sign, we have overwritten that material, and now we can, change the scale, maybe 6 to big 20. Yeah. Now we have this running across it. And of course, now there again, you see the issue of it's a seamless image, but we might see the repetition of it. To hide this from the top, when we look, there's no way to hide it. It is what it is. In an advanced environment, instead of grass image, I would actually make 3-dimensional grass, and the same for the stones. For what we do here, this is perfectly fine. If I go to, however, a different view like this, I might be able in some cases to hide details. So I put furniture over it or other elements to hide the repetition. That's another common process in 3D graphics. If there's an issue, try to see if you can hide it. by putting something over it. And also you never should be concerned for something you don't see. You can put the work in fixing it, but you might not, get a reward for it. Very good. So that's actually pretty nice. Let me now show you one way how we can add another material to the walls. But before, let's do a save. So let me show you now a nice technique how we can, in a sufficient way, project a material over a much more complicated piece of geometry like this one. In a real world, I would UV unwrap all these individual faces here, so the texture will perfectly flow around all these corners. That's doable, but quite labor intensive and not something we really need for what we are doing. So back to object mode. I will turn on the material preview. Here in the node editor, or if you want to in the material editor, I have the building white material selected. Then I go add and texture image, connect this, open, and let's use this one. So there we are. You might not really see much. Okay, all good. So Shift A and vector mapping, connect, Shift A, input, texture coordinate system. And instead of using UV, I will use object. Okay, look, the material is there. Top is okay, but what's going on here at the sides? This is because the material, the image, is projected flat. Flat means, think about like a slide you put into a projector and project it onto a wall. It's one direction. We want this material to be projected from all 6 directions: left, right, front, bottom, top, back. So let's switch this to box. Oh, look at that. There we are. That's it. You see, pretty cool. Also, I gave these elements that scale already, that material already. And yeah, so the only thing maybe we can do now is, sure, we could play, for example, with the scale here. Maybe we make this 2 or 0.5, no, smaller or bigger. And you see the nice thing of that technique is it shortcuts the work really a lot. We do not have perfect control of where are these seams. We could, for example, do a Z location offset with Shift. I have a little bit more control to do this gently, but now this moves actually the texture across everything. So if I want to use something like this, then I would try to find a configuration where maybe it's the least annoying result, or where I see there's something wrong, and then that's fine. You have to just make a compromise. So for example, I moved along the y-axis, so here I did not have a vertical line. I have something there, but yeah, that's good. It's not perfect, Walt. Again, we are trying to shoot for something that is not so blatantly wrong that it screams. If it's a little bit wrong also for what we try to do in this course and this project, that's cool. Okay, so this texture, however, is pretty excessive. What else can we maybe do with it? So, interesting lecture element. We could go into Photoshop and adjust the colors, make this brighter, make the black blacker or something. We can also do this in here. Again, this is also the reason why in the film industry, post-production, etc., color adjustments, color grading, and all this is done as a flowchart in a node, because I'm creating here, like in Photoshop, a chain of commands, which Blender, however, runs constantly for me. So to adjust the color, I could go into Photoshop, do it, or here, Shift A, color, RGB curves, plug this in there. And now I can make, for example, the darks brighter, the brighter, darker. Now you see how this automatically changes everything. Control X removes it, Shift A, drag it over it. Or if I drag it below, then I connect here these, these yellow to yellow lines. That's a very easy, quick fix to change something. So let's swap maybe this out with a different material. Maybe, what about the plaster? How does this look? Yeah. This is way too big. One. Oh yeah, now one is actually, that looks quite good. Yeah. Let's see if I bring this one to there. Yeah, cool. And with the ground here, now we can do exactly the same too. Now, oh, we did with the mixing. Okay. Beautiful. And 0, go to this view again. Cool. Okay. Now Z in a render. Let's see how this actually looks. I'm going to pause for a second. And there we are now. Look at that. How cool actually this stucco material looks on the wall. Pretty nice. So I would like to go at this point now to Chrome one more time. Let's go to Architectures. This website is, as Americans say, the bomb. Love it. This is perfect. It's created by some architects and it's basically an online texture generator. There are websites like SketchUp, Texture Club, etc. Perfect too to find images, but this is just the image you have and we can try to tile it. This one not only tiles, it creates, as you can see, tile layouts. Pretty awesome. So I would like to have maybe, terrazzo. Go to there. Look at that. We have various different options, colored, monochromatic. Also this, pretty cool. I downloaded this one already as an image. Maybe I click on this one. I can do a scale, download it, or go to edit. So we see this. And maybe here, let me change the pattern. Oh, look at that. We can say 8 rows. It adjusts now, as you can see, the image for me. We can say width is 10 inches by 2 inches. So as you can see now, super easy. Then we have mortar, download, and then I have the subscription. You can go to sample. That's the one you have in download. It's pretty cool. It's just a really fantastic service. And when I go back to the beginning here, particularly for the stone or the tile, they have a lot of really nice presets already you can download or select and reconfigure. So this terrazzo one, I would like to load. So go to ground. Is this okay? I want to make sure that's not the same material. So here, this concrete, now I will, hold on. Actually, I really like the way how this looks. Check this out. Okay. So I move this to the side. With B, I select everything. With G, you can move. This I select, Shift D, make a copy. Click on this. There's my other material. And then I drag this one in there. So you see, you can have different configurations of texture processing ideas. You don't have to always create a new material. So this, ooh, this is slightly too big. Now this gets better. 30, yeah, cool. Okay. So the reason why I showed you this, promising to try to make this rather very brief, not too complicated, but check this out. So Z and rendered. Now we can render this stuff. Looks pretty cool. Now this is all still a flat surface. Let's take a look at what we can do with all this here. We make this reflective. So now, as you can see, this feels more like maybe an acrylic surface, or it's marble and we just sand polished it. I spent a lot of my childhood time in Crete, and this type of a floor was very common to texture it, and then you go over it and sand it, polish. Beautiful finishes. Roughness, we 0.5. You can see that it is reflective, but it's kind of rough. If we go too high, then, well, it looks like it's sandblasted. 0.1. It's pretty reflective, it's clean, a little bit of blurriness. Also, maybe the walls. So this orange here. Now we have this, for example, nice and reflective, and the building white there. And we can turn everything to be a pain on the eyes. Make it super glossy. And this is, again, something that's quite cool. Also, if you go to a paint store and take a look at samples and the type of paints they have, from matte to semi-gloss to high gloss. That's pretty much, this is what we can use to set this all up. Literally, most materials we use have some sort of a reflectivity on it. It's also a good exercise if you're inside a room or your house or wherever, walk around and then look perpendicular along walls and pay attention to how glossy sometimes these finishes are. So here I'm just lowering that reflectivity to make it not as crazy. 0.01 is still okay. 0.1 for the reflectivity. 0.01. So there's still something happening there, but it's not as crazy anymore. And actually, if this is the building here with the stuff, in that case, well, yeah, good idea. Now, if it's structured and we paint over with a high glossy paint, it would be a little bit reflective. So again, this is something that really helps, or is easy to study when you walk around and study, maybe photograph spaces. You need to know how things look before you can recreate them in 3D. Okay, very nice. So there's really much more, a lot more I could talk about the materials, but we can keep it at this level. We have basic colors, we have textures, we have reflectivity and roughness. That's pretty good.